Hello, I am Carolina Alfonzo and I am a lip specialist and professional expert. Today I will be talking to you and teaching you all about how to create blends for dark lips, pale lips and pink lips. Did you know that one of my color theories, which I have developed over many years, is to try to make everything as simple and straightforward as possible so that you can easily create your blends just by having the base colors to start from. As you can see here, we have indeed countless blends and shades, but did you know that we actually started all of them with just 4 colors? It is very important when purchasing your pigment or deciding which shades to buy that you fully understand what a base tone is, more details about the potential impacts, and what you can create with those colors. It is also very important that you can recognize what an organic pigment and an inorganic pigment are, so that you can understand the benefits during implantation. You should always remember that an organic pigment can help you achieve more vibrant and more vivid colors when you are micropigmenting lips. These high-quality pigments are much more fluid and have the translucency we need to create a natural and more natural effect when it comes to micropigmenting lips. But we will also definitely need inorganic pigments for some tones. Why? Because we will also absolutely need high coverage, so they will be our allies when we blend them. Something you should keep in mind is to ensure that the base of your pigment is always warm, which is very important, as this will guarantee that the healing process over time will lead to proper fading. This is crucial for the process in the long run. And what is extremely important and something we must always avoid is creating a tone that significantly deviates from the client's natural mucosa to make sure to ensure the lips always look healthy and do not develop an undesirable color as they fade. Remember that the techniques we use today are nothing like those used in the past, so we need to overcome the fear of using a bit of titanium dioxide or very pink tones or very warm shades. We will always work with a very gentle, very superficial implantation. Remember that we must assure our client that this work will fade over time, so they will always return to your studio every 2 to 3 years for color touch-ups in the micropigmentation process. Nowadays, in today's world, naturalness is absolutely the most important thing, and ensuring your client an ideal result. What is an ideal result for me when it comes to lip micropigmentation? It's really like that juicy, healthy lip, like the lips of babies when they are so born. That is what we must indeed provide to our clients, and that will be the success of your work. One of the most frequently asked questions is about color loss. With these blends that we are going to create, and by working with high pigment load pigments, we can guarantee our clients that there will be no more than a 20% reduction in the chosen tone after the service. You should always remember that when we are actively stimulating the lip lamina, we will definitely have a significantly higher intensity of pigment due to that specific stimulation. The reddish color we see right after micropigmentation is not only due to the implantation of the pigment, but also to the stimulation we are indeed performing on the lip tissue. So always stay calm and don't let your client get scared when they see the color looking very intense. Remember that the lip tissue takes between 2 to 4 hours to reduce inflammation and normalize blood flow, and the pigment will go through a healing process. Our body will phagocytize part of it, and our macrophages will carry away some of the pigment. This process is natural and necessary. We must also definitely and certainly take into account that part of the pigment remains exposed on the surface of the lip layer, and that small piece of skin that peels off between the 3rd and 4th day will undoubtedly help reduce the intensity. It is extremely important to always consider the overall healing process of a lip. For the first 48 hours, we will have a much more intense color, and there may even be a bit of swelling. After approximately 48 hours, the color will be more matte and less shiny, and the lip will start to feel a bit tighter and slightly dry, somewhat. This is the time to start hydration, as long as your client does not suffer from herpes. After we begin the repair of the lip sheet, we must allow time for healing and for the color to reach its full expression. Always remember not to wait 30 days for a touch-up. You should always wait a little longer, slightly. We always recommend a minimum of approximately 60 days before seeing your client again for lip lamination. Can you see the difference? How does a lip look after 30 days and how does the same lip look after 60? Do you see how the color really intensified much more because it had finished regenerating? It is also very important to always tell your client that after lip micropigmentation, they should keep their lips hydrated. Once it has healed, they should always keep their lips well hydrated. And if they go to the beach or are exposed to the sun, they should always use a lip sunscreen. Remember that we are using organic pigments and they tend to fade much faster with UV rays because they have less tolerance to them, particularly when exposed for extended durations. So the protection care and advice you give your client, including additional details about how to properly maintain and look after their needs, will make your work last much longer and be more effective in the long run. Now, I know you want to know what base pigments are and how to identify their generators. It's very easy. You will need only a few things to make them. Below, you will find the link to download the templates that we have provided we are using today. You will also need a bit of water and a few cotton swabs to spread them on. The sheets of paper as well. Each of them will have the color index that you can easily identify to better understand the specific component of each of the colors that we are going to use, and we will also thoroughly teach you how to properly identify the quality of the pigment. Here, as we can see on our table, we have different pigments that we have added to water, and we will be able to identify the pigment load a little later. Not only will we learn if it is organic or inorganic, but we will also learn to determine if it is hydrophilic or hydrophobic and how to recognize if it is a high pigment load pigment. An example I always give is like foundation makeup, where we have low coverage, medium coverage, and high coverage. That's how your pigments will be. Now with our lip line, we guarantee you the highest coverage pigment available on the market. Why? Because our work, healed with just one session, can confirm it. Now we will move on to demonstrate how we stretch the pigments, how we observe their degradation, what their bases are, and how we will create wonderful blends together. Okay, here we will be showing you what we consider the first 4 base colors, which are essential for any artist, so that you can create different types of blends and shades, always keeping in mind that they will be warm, as we do not use cool colors in our palette. With a cotton swab that we will moisten thoroughly in water, very carefully and gently, we are going to place the number 1 pigment into our chosen primary pigment. We let it fill completely with pigment. Pigment number 1 is an orange base shade, thoroughly providing a vibrant foundation. It is very important to degrade the pigment towards its final wear to see what shades it will degrade into. This process involves thorough and careful observation to understand the various shades it transforms into over time. It is indeed also very crucial that each of their pigments can actually have central points to see how they will behave, in fact. The N is a pigment that definitely encompasses 77891, 21110, and 12315, which indeed indicates that it has white, which is titanium dioxide, it has yellow, and it has red. Okay? This fundamentally ensures me that it is a very stable and reliable orange as well. But since white also has coverage and protection, as you can see, we can definitely and certainly see the intensity of this pigment. The N is a pigment that is made up of a combination of different colors, including white, yellow, and various shades of red. This pigment it's a very intense pink, a pink that provides excellent coverage, has an intense vividness, and possesses a warmth that sets it apart from other shades. It is an absolutely 100% warm pink color and definitely with no cool undertones. Similarly, we will load a dampened cotton swab with the pigment to create the gradient. We can see that it is a very intense pink, but at the same time, it gives a very natural and warm tone for our clients. The vibrancy of this pink shade is unmistakable, yet it retains a sense of subtlety that makes it appealing. We can also use it alone if they want a soft pink color. Our Pigment N is our unique and innovative magic formula. It's our pride and joy, the special pigment designed to provide a lasting solution. This pigment will help us ensure that dark lips are no longer a problem, making them a thing of the past. It is a shade that we can all see when working with dark lips, especially in various lighting conditions. We know that we need a pigment with a white base to achieve coverage, which is essential for uniformity. In addition to containing white, this pigment also has a small amount of yellow and a very tiny touch of red, ensuring ideal coverage for all the lips you need to apply it to, regardless of their natural color, making it versatile and effective for a wide range of applications. And finally, another one of our incredibly talented star pigments that is going to change the lives of many micropigmentation artists and professionals is this shade. It is comfortably warm, and we should not let ourselves be afraid or intimidated by this vibrant and striking red color. Why? Because we can see that it is a red with a composition that doesn't exist in the market, as it has two organic components and is a very vibrant color, a very intense color that you can definitely use both pure and to create mixtures and more. Here we present the four primary colors in their purest forms, allowing us to observe their true essence and characteristics. We have what is known as the N, which is a crucial element in our system. Additionally, we have the N, which plays a significant role in our operations. Furthermore, the N is essential. Something you can also apply with your clients is to have the pigments in very small glass containers that you can shake, allowing you to see and show your clients the shades. These small glass containers are particularly useful because they are transparent, which means you can easily observe the true color and consistency of the pigments inside. Often when we see pigments in other types of more opaque containers, we can't fully appreciate the pigment's tone due to the type of plastic used. The opaque nature of these plastic containers can obscure the true color, making it difficult to accurately assess the pigment shade. So this is also one of the ways you can present the mixture or the pure colors to your clients in different ways. Now we will move on to the entire area of how to create mixtures according to our clients' tones. What are our suggested mixtures? Now we will be looking at the various mixtures and techniques that I use for creating beautiful brown lips. First, you simply need to know how to identify the intensity of brown in your lip sheet. If you have a lip sheet with a light intensity of brown, such as light brown, medium intensity, such as mid-brown, and an extremely high intensity, meaning very dark, we have three types of mixtures that we can use for it. In mixture number 1, we have very carefully applied 3 drops of N and then 4 drops of N, and it will give us this beautiful and lovely shade, as we need to give this lip a bit of color, making it more vibrant and lively so that it can have much more natural and appealing shades. And we don't need it to be such an intense and overwhelming orange tone. If we have a medium toned lip, we have carefully applied 2 drops of N and then 2 more drops of N, followed by another 2 drops of N. In this case, we indeed need to have or actually possess a mixture that provides greater coverage, but at the same time gives us light with a yellow undertone. So this would indeed be an absolutely ideal mixture if the client's lip tone is a medium brown, definitely. Now, if your client's lip tone is a very intense brown, with our line, by mixing 2 drops of N 4 drops of N and 1 drop of N, you will absolutely achieve the ideal shade for coverage, neutralization, and illumination in the same session, ensuring your client definitely leaves satisfied. Now let's see how these mixtures look. We must mix the shades very well indeed. Remember that when we work with our clients, we always apply our unique magic secret to each and every pigment composition, which is to add a single drop of witch hazel. This helps to achieve better color implantation when performing lip micropigmentation, ensuring a more vibrant and lasting result. Remember that the pigments we use already contain witch hazel because they are state-of-the-art and cutting-edge pigments from the most advanced, innovative, and cutting-edge micropigmentation laboratories. Therefore, we must consider that it will help us achieve better retention and that our lip layer will also have faster and more efficient saturation when we implant the pigment. In this demonstration, we have 3 different mixtures prepared. Our next step is to carefully moisten the cotton swab and then thoroughly spread each of these mixtures for our clients to observe and evaluate. It is very important to be able to show our client the exact shade we are going to use, how that specific shade will fade over time, and it will also help us as professional micropigmentation artists to better understand the various pigments we work with and how they fade gradually in our practice for consistent results. This is an exceptionally beautiful and vibrant color that will undoubtedly provide everything we need for those cool, luscious lips, ensuring our clients receive the ideal and most satisfactory results they desire and deserve. Something that you should always keep in mind is that we already work with the direct mixture, and we provide coverage, add color, and also give the client a result in each and every session. It is no longer necessary to work in layers or apply color over color, as these mixtures have been studied, tested, and definitely verified on each of our clients and by the specialists of our brand. Now we will move on to another lip shade where, with the same base colors, we have different types of mixtures. Now we will be talking about the different types of mixtures that we are going to make for bluish lips and how they can be beneficial. We must take into account that each of the mixtures we have made and will make in the future are from our 4 generating colors, which are warm base colors, specifically designed for this purpose. These are 100% warm colors, without any cool undertones, that will allow us to achieve different shades for dark lips, pale lips, pink lips, and all ranges of neutralization. Now, if we have bluish lip sheets, we must also identify if it is light, medium, or high, and for each of them we will have a mixture. If our lip sheet is slightly bluish in color, we will use approximately 4 drops of N and approximately 2 drops of N so as to create this mixture. If your client's lips have a medium shade, we will mix 3 drops of N, 2 drops of N, and 2 drops of N. With this, you will achieve the ideal shade for coverage, illumination, and color in a single session. And if your client's lip has a significant amount of bluish pigmentation, we will work with exactly 2 drops of N, 4 drops of N, and 1 drop of N, and with that, we will achieve the ideal mixture for our lip sheets. Now, we will proceed to even more carefully and thoroughly mix the pigments in the cap. A very important tip when working with your pigments is to always shake them extremely well, absolutely thoroughly, for at least a minimum of 3 to 5 minutes or even longer. You can definitely utilize an electric mixer to make your work significantly easier, especially as when working with pigments that have a high pigment load but are also hydrophilic. The pigment load will always tend to remain at the bottom. Therefore, if we do not shake the pigment well in the container before making the mixtures, we will not have enough color load in each drop when it comes out of our container. Indeed. Indeed. After having each of our mixtures ready, we will proceed to carefully and thoroughly moisten the cotton swabs in order to spread the appropriate mixture evenly and effectively. We have our number 1 mixture for a slight bluish tint on our client's lip. Now, if we have a medium-toned bluish pigment load and if we have a high-toned bluish load, now here we show you the 3 possible mixtures for these 3 types of lip sheets, which will allow you to solve your client's problems and achieve ideal work in each session. Now we will move on to another type of lip sheet. Now we will be talking about violet-based lip sheets in this video and their various applications. We already know that we need to identify its intensity, whether it is light, medium, or high. And here we have the 3 formulas for each of them. If it is mild, to obtain this shade, we mix 1 drop of N, 3 drops of N, and 1 drop of N in total, approximately. If we have a client with a medium violet lip sheet, we will carefully mix exactly 3 drops of N, exactly 2 drops of N, and exactly 2 drops of N to obtain the approximately ideal mixture. Now, if our client's lip sheet is very, very violet, we will carefully and precisely mix 1 drop of N, 4 drops of N, and 2 drops of N to have the ideal mixture to cover that lip sheet. This specific combination is essential, ensuring the perfect balance of colors and providing a flawless and natural look. Similarly, for each individual mix that we create, the best thing we can do is to always have our comprehensive catalog on hand, so we can accurately identify the specific shades that will eventually degrade over time. As we can see, we will always work to indeed ensure that the degradation is definitely warm. If our client's lip sheet is a medium violet, we need a shade with a slightly more orange load to have a bit more brightness with the yellow load it possesses. Now, if our client's lip sheet, which is a very deep violet color, is very deep violet, we need to rely on our pigment N, a specific type of pigment, in its highest proportion, meaning the maximum amount possible, to achieve greater coverage. And so with these mixes, you will have different solutions depending on your client's lip sheet, ensuring you won't have any more problems. And now we will move on to another lip sheet. Now, if your client's lip sheets have various gray shades, we definitely also have different solutions for you. We have for light, medium, and high mix. If your client has a very light grayish tone, you will mix 4 drops of N and 2 drops of N to have your ideal mix, such as, for instance. If it is a medium gray shade, you will approximately mix 3 drops of N, 2 drops of N, and 2 drops of N to achieve your ideal mix, your ideal combination, your perfect blend. Now, if your client has a very, very, very grayish tone, we will mix 1 single drop of N, 3 individual drops of N, and 2 separate drops of N to create the ideal color that will solve all your problems and meet all your needs, ensuring the perfect blend to achieve the desired result. If your client's shade is a very light gray, with this mix you can absolutely ensure that in the same session you will have full coverage, definitely color, really intensity, and probably, if you apply the technique correctly, you definitely won't need any touch-up sessions. If your client's lip shade is a medium gray, we will need a color with a slightly more orange load to achieve neutralization to the lip shade, illumination to the lip shade, and a bit of coverage to the lip shade, which helps in achieving a balanced look for better results. But now, if on the contrary your client's lip sheet is a very intense gray that is quite noticeable and easily catches the eye, we will use the N to give us coverage, especially when looking for full and even coverage. It has a slightly yellow undertone just like N and N, and it will give us an ideal color even if your client's lip mucosa is a very intense gray color that is a little bit more intensified. And with these three mixes, you will be able to solve the problems with your client's grayish lip sheets. And with that, we now conclude our discussion of the gray shades, to move on to the next mix. And with our 4 pigment colors, using our advanced technology, you can not only create dark lips, but also infinite shades for your client's pale or pink lips, depending on what each one wants, and innovative techniques to achieve the perfect look. Are you sure your client also asks for natural but noticeable? Well, with our line of pigments, we have created 6 natural but noticeable mixes according to the client's personality, lip sheet, and desired intensity. If your client wants a natural look but noticeable, and you see that your client really wants a very soft tone, not too intense, we have the perfect mix that we made with 4 drops of N, 1 drop of N, and 1 drop of N. This specific mix is an ideal tone for that particular client who desires a very soft, rejuvenated lip mucosa, with a touch of color but not a very intense shade. This mix is carefully crafted to ensure that the lips look naturally beautiful and subtly enhanced, providing a youthful and fresh appearance without being overly dramatic or intense. Now, if your client is a little bit more adventurous and bolder and wants a shade that stands out just a tad bit more, that is natural but noticeable, and we know they want their friends to notice, then this truly becomes the ideal mix. 3 drops of N, 4 with 2 drops of N is an ideal mixture. It is a mix of reds with 100% warm pinks, which will guarantee an ideal, extremely beautiful degradation towards quite juicy tones for our client, such as... Now, if we have a client who is a bit more daring and adventurous and wants something much more intense and striking, this is the ideal and perfect mix for her. We will carefully mix 4 drops of N and precisely 1 drop of N, resulting in a beautiful cherry tone with a subtle hint of pink shimmer. That's exactly why we've created this ideal mix just for you. Now, if you want to create those impactful nude tones that are highly sought after, that everyone wants to have, while still using your same 4 base colors, don't miss the next mix, your tried and true. And now let's move on to the highly requested and frequently asked question about whether or not it is possible to create nudes using the 4 main colors. And with these 4 colors, we will teach you how to create nudes or pink tones like these we have here, those baby pinks that our clients want, or those shades that are so trendy. But we can guarantee that they are 100% warm, since they are created through our first 4 N, N, and N from the Pigment line. Therefore, we can guarantee that you will have in your hands the 3 most desired 100% warm tones, so you will have the pinks you have always wanted, and you can create them yourself without needing to acquire more pigment. Now, how are we going to do them? We will definitely make the 3 mixes. Also remember that you can intuitively make each of these shades a little lighter or a little darker depending on your client's lip sheet. This is the lightest shade, a pink created with 4 drops of N, 1 drop of N. Achieving this light and delicate shade requires precision, using a mix of 4 drops of N and 1 drop of N. Remember that with yellow and red undertones, it will always be a warm pigment. This pink pigment always has a warm hue due to the yellow and red undertones. Now, nude number 2 is a bit more intense. It is also a very, very pink tone, almost like a gentle blush. It has 4 drops of N, 1 drop of N, and by combining these drops we can achieve a beautiful and delicate rose tone, ideal for all the pale or pink sheets of our client. Our clients will love this shade as it enhances their natural complexion beautifully. Another combination that is highly requested and frequently requested by micropigmentation artists and clients is a slightly more intense and vibrant and vivid pink, similar to the lipstick that we like to apply daily, each and every day. You can create this with 4 drops of N, 1 drop of N, and 1 drop of N. Now, in the next section, we will show you how to identify the pigment load of the pigments and how to determine if it is hydrophilic or hydrophobic. Something that we need to be able to identify when acquiring a pigment is not only the shade but also the very important pigment load. What does the pigment load of a color mean? Essentially, it basically refers to how much pigment powder it can contain. Unfortunately, this is of course indeed something that we cannot read on the label and must test personally to find out. Now, we will also find various different types of pigments, such as hydrophilic and hydrophobic pigments, and some that are called amphipathic or dual, which have a high content of glycerin and water, with molecules capable of interacting with both glycerin and water, which can be found in various natural substances. Now, if we are going to work on a lip sheet and the ideal is to have a quick implantation without damage, something we must do is ensure that our pigment is highly pigmented, of the latest technology, and highly soluble, as we are definitely going to implant in one of the most humid areas of the human body. Indeed, definitely. A hydrophilic-based pigment, which is a type of pigment that has an affinity for water, will have a lot of glycerin, a substance that is known for its moisturizing properties, and we will see how it does not easily dilute with water, which will make it really problematic and challenging to implant it in my client's lip. We will also encounter pigments that seem to have a high pigment load and be very liquid at first glance, but then when we put them in contact with water, we gradually realize that something else is going to happen. These pigments, which initially appear to be highly concentrated and fluid, undergo a transformation when... Let's see how a pigment behaves over an extended period of time, where a very plasticized particle forms on the surface and then the pigment starts to settle in a manner that is clearly observable. It is an extremely highly concentrated pigment, indeed very heavy, and it will be incredibly difficult to implant in our client's skin, which is quite challenging, in fact. We will also encounter another type of pigments that respond well to water, but then we may see that they have low pigment load. And finally, we will encounter high pigment load pigments, where we can see the intensity of the tone, the amount of pigment we will find, and how it interacts with water molecules, which will be very similar to what happens with your client's lip sheet. So it is very important to be able to identify the type of pigment that you are using and want to work with, the intensity of the pigment it will have, and also to leave them for a few minutes and observe carefully to see what happens with each one. So you will be able to know which is the ideal pigment for your work, ensuring a quick job without inflaming your client's lip sheet, no need for touch-ups, and excellent implantation. And you? Are you ready to try our line of pigments?